It's a World Series matchup no Arizona Diamondbacks fan wants. We are previewing the Fall Classic between the Dodgers and the Yankees and giving our predictions for the winners. Don't go anywhere. We'll give you all that in 30 seconds. To you all and happy Wednesday. Welcome into another edition of the PHNX D-Backs podcast, brought to you by our friends at Bet365. Go download the Bet365 app, use our code of PHNX365 when you sign up, find out, choose your offer, and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Welcome in again. My name is Derek Monti, occasionally known as your mayor of PHNX. This man next to me is your Thunderstick, occasionally known as Jesse Friedman. And of course, we got the one and only Archie Bradley, our closer on this show, joining us today to talk about a lot of fun things, including a World Series matchup, like I said earlier, that nobody in the Arizona Diamondbacks community really wants to talk about or even watch. But first, before we get to that, we did have some fun stuff from the Arizona Fall League last night, Jesse, in regards to more changes on the horizon for Major League Baseball in regards to, I guess, challenges and challenging the calls in the strike zone.
Yeah, I witnessed history yesterday, and I had no idea what I was walking into. They tested out a check swing challenge system in the Arizona Fall League.
On board with this one.
You're on board?
Yes.
You're on board?
There's a lot of the game I'll discuss that I think I'm okay with human error.
Yeah.
This one I'm not.
Yeah.
This one I agree has been needed. I've talked about this for years, and I'm excited to talk about this one.
Do you feel that way just in general about like an automated strike zone or like at least challenging umpires' calls?
Again, I don't know how much time we have to talk about this subject, but being in AAA, the last year, getting to see the automated zone, be a part of the challenge system.
Right.
I do think there is some very big positives to it, but I think very quickly the sport, which the players and the union and the higher ups decide, we need to figure out what direction we want baseball to go, because we're running out of runway real quick on technology versus human interaction and human error.
Sure.
And what this game was built on versus the direction it's heading versus the business and how much the right call means and is worth in today's game.
So I guess I'll explain how this worked. It was
history. It was the first time ever used.
It was
right?
the first time. Yeah, I asked someone in the press box who's there for Major League Baseball. This had never been tested in a minor league setting. This was literally the first time they've tested this out in a game setting. I guess it uses the Hawkeye technology, whatever it is, that's built into Salt River Fields. I don't believe this technology is in any of the other spring training facilities. So I think you're only going to see this tested in Salt River Fields. But yeah, basically a batter either swings or doesn't swing. We get the call from the umpire, and then they have the opportunity to challenge if they think that the call was missed. And then at that point, we have a challenge, sort of like what you're used to seeing with the ABS challenge system that's been going in the Fall League for a while, as well as in the minors, as you said, Archie.
And that challenge comes from the player.
Yeah, the challenge comes from the player. At least that's what I saw. Maybe it would be possible for. I don't think it's possible for like a manager or anyone else.
Similar
to
the strike call, tap the helmet.
Yeah. Yep. They tapped the helmet. And then what would show on the screen is something like what you would see here. Here's the first example that we had in the game. So it does like a little illustration, and then
that's a swing.
And then that is not a swing.
They're saying that line there, the yellow line, is the indicator of the swing or not?
Correct.
And what is that, from you being there, what you've looked up, maybe we're going to get into that, what is defined, what are they defining that as?
So that's like the $1 million question, because apparently there's nothing in the Major League Baseball rule book that actually defines
the
what a swing is.
rule for such an instrumental call. Yeah. Like, that's why I wanted to talk about it. Like, when
I thought if they crossed the plate, I thought it was like, if you
do we have the
official
rule? Can we pull it up?
Yeah. So what was described to me was it is a 45-degree angle drawn from the knob of the bat. So maybe let's roll that one more time, just the same video.
This is the rule for this, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the rule that they've defined for this, you can see like from the knob of the
Yep.
bat, you have a line drawn at 45 degrees, like sort of going out to, in this case, right field. And as long as the bat does not cross that line, then it is a no swing. And you can see from that illustration that the bat goes well past. It goes far beyond like breaking the plane of home plate.
That's what I was gonna say. Do we have the old Major League rule, or like what the intent? Because
I don't, because it doesn't exist, Archie. There's nothing in the rule book about it.
Or the way it's always been talked about by us and broadcasters, analysts is the intent of a swing, the intention to swing.
No official
which
definition.
For me is like any movement of hands going towards the zone.
As a pitcher, you're like, if you do anything, then that's an intention to swing.
If you want to talk about like a certain point in the plate, used to be a reference point if the barrel crossed a certain point. But you're right. For what I'm going to talk about in a second, it being such a huge call, there's such a gray area, no rule. So, I don't have exact percentages. I wish I'd known we were going to talk about this. Thanks for texting me, Jesse.
Oh, of course. Yep.
No,
thanks for the prep, Jesse.
No, I mean, when you go into these meetings where you talk about controlling counts and percentages, and now more than ever, especially with betting and everything, like the difference of a 1-1 count going to 1-2 versus 2-1.
Yeah.
2-0 going to 3-0 versus 2-1. You can run through the percentages of what these counts mean, and then especially in big situations, man, or a strike three. I can roll through many of these where, again, these umpires are doing a great job. It is so hard to call balls and strikes. It is, I think, even harder to determine a check swing.
Yeah.
These guys are a 90 plus. I mean, first base is 90 feet away. They're another 10, 15 feet behind these guys. These guys are judging a call that literally happens faster than a pitch at 100 plus feet away. And it's a huge part of being right. I mean, statistically having an advantage of being up or down in a bat. So I am so on board with this.
Well, and a check swing is kind of the biggest judgment call. Like Jesse said, there is no defined metric for what makes a check swing. I mean, some of the factors listed here are whether the batter attempted to hit the pitch. Okay, there's that. Whether the barrel of the bat was in front of the batter's body, whether the batter rolled their wrists, whether the batter swung through the ball or drew the bat back before the pitch. Now, what's interesting about the challenge system is that none of those things talk about a 45-degree angle from the knob of the bat or not crossing that plane.
I mean, clearly Major League Baseball, for the purpose of creating this system, they had to come up with like a quantifiable, like something that you can model with like math, because that was the only way that they were going to be able to create the system to begin with. And the system that they've created seems very, very generous for hitters. I don't know if it looks extremely this way.
It does. I think, again, I was a part of, we'd have to go back, but 2014, my fall league year, we tested something with pitch clock.
Oh, really?
Or inning, maybe sped up innings in between innings or something like that. It was something new.
Interesting.
We'd have to look it up, but we tested something, and it was like the baseline. And then I remember a couple of years later how much it had changed, where I think you have to start somewhere. And again, from looking at what you showed us, the bat knob makes a lot of sense. I think the angle could change a little bit.
Yeah,
I do
maybe
think
not
it's
so.
generous.
Yeah, like maybe we should go 20 degrees.
I've thought about this a
like
lot
that.
with talks during games with other players. I like the bat knob because there's so many variables in the swing, but to hit the ball, the knob generally is in this area when you're swinging. So you can base it off that, where the plate or other factors can be manipulated by stance, positioning. And you have to, that's what the fall league, and I think why MLB owns some of these other leagues, the Frontier, I think is, I don't know, I think that's what it is,
pigs.
right? Yeah. They have ways to implement these. And I think the fall league, again, I think this is something that is going to make it to the big leagues faster than ball or strike. So I think this is much needed, and I'm all for starting it, testing it, getting it to the big leagues.
How much in your opinion, and you brought this up briefly, but does sports gambling kind of impact all of this? Because you don't think it really, you're not in general thinking that legalized, sports betting and such is going to impact the game, but it almost feels like every sport needs to find a way to make things black and white and not have any portion of the game left up in the referee's hands.
Here's what I've learned from the outside looking in. It's a business.
Yeah.
I love the sport. I love growing up playing baseball, but the further I've gotten into professional sports, and it is still a game, and we do play it for the love of the game. Every decision, for the most part, outside of a handful, but in you zoom out of the microscope, every decision in sports is business.
Yeah.
And especially now with sports betting, what it's become, the availability of it. You look at, again, I talk about my career. You talk about 2015, betting on a game, live betting, no chance, to now it's on uniforms, it's on the back of bullpens. We literally talk about it to start the show, which it's awesome. I understand we're evolving, you know, what is available.
I was actually at a sports book and I refused to, I wanted to put in a bet and I was like, no, I don't want to come back here to have to cash it in. I'll just do it on my phone. Right. So, I mean, that's like, that's how easy it makes it. Right?
Everything from that perspective, we can go into other sports, but the balls and strikes. Okay, we started out with just showing the square zone, right? And that was really cool. Now, I mean, literally, again, pitches, plays. You can go back a couple years way back. Armando Galarraga, like all these instances, you know, where guys are out or safe, or the ball was a strike or not. Now we know if it was a ball or strike. We know if he was out or safe, and that play with all the numbers, again, outside of betting. But statistically, if he's safe there, the Dodgers have a 20% better chance to win now because he's on second base safe with no outs.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And again, that you talk about swaying bets, and especially now where you can bet per inning, per bat, basically.
Right.
If you're getting these calls wrong, Vegas, again, not a conspiracy guy, but the overall business, like the bottom dollar, there's money to be made here. And if you're missing calls that they can show are right, it's like I said, we got to decide here. We got to draw a line in the sand on how far we're going to let technology take sports in general.
No, you're absolutely right. Because it started like with the K zone where we were like, oh, now we can see
it was
if
cool.
It was balls.
It was awesome.
But then like this challenge system, for instance, the one for balls and strikes, it takes that above the aerial view above, you know, the plate and shows you how it crossed and in what direction it went and all that kind of stuff. And can show you how like maybe even the K zone is flawed because what the umpire's seeing as far as the trajectory of the ball and the movement it had kind of might make a difference on what they saw. Right. So we have another video of this check swing challenge.
Yeah, there were two in the game yesterday, one for each team. Both of them were successful because, as you guys can see, it's a generous enough system for hitters that.
But see, that one looks like a check
swing. This one is not nearly as egregious as the other one.
Seeing the other one in front of home plate, it's tough for me.
Yeah,
that one I'm on board with. Yeah. But again, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So
and I mean, I feel like it's not the worst thing in the world. I think again, it's about making the game correct, and I think we were hesitant in all sports to like bog down the game with challenges and reviews.
Correct.
They just found a way to make them quick, make them not impact the enjoyment of the game. And in fact, even with the balls and strike system, it's kind of electric when they do go to the call and you look up to the board. I think who's going to be right?
I think there's a beautiful marriage that needs to happen with technology and sport. I mean, it is happening, but I think it's very technology heavy right now. And we are fading the human aspect of sports and referees and umpires. And trust me, you guys have pissed me off many times in my career, but I love you guys. And I don't want to see the human interaction leave the sport. Like this is a great topic because I've talked about this a lot. Like, are you okay knowing that baseball, football, whatever you want to say it, that a homer wasn't hit, but they called it a homer. Strike wasn't a strike, they called it a strikeout. And your team loses and misses the playoffs or doesn't win the World Series. And that's the way it's called. That's the way it stands, right? The umpire called it, even though it got reviewed, it still stands. Or it's technology and it's called, reversed, your team now wins the World Series. Or maybe the World Series is deep, but that's where we're getting to. I mean, that's an extreme example, but
it could be that big.
It could be that big. I mean, we talk about Galarraga's perfect game. If there's technology and then that gets reversed, it's a perfect game.
I think that one gets overturned.
My point is, I brought it up a couple times, is just where is the line drawn of like, what are you okay with?
Yeah.
Human error, missing and losing game, which we've seen throughout history, right? Or being able to, reverse time and review it and say, no, this was wrong. they win, you lose.
Yeah.
And I think in baseball, there are certain elements of the game that are easy for technology to figure out.
Yes.
Like balls and strikes are pretty, I mean, relatively speaking, easy for
Yes.
technology to figure out. Whereas like in football, like pass interference there's so much
Correct.
gray area. Like in
Yes.
the NBA, there's so much gray area with all these foul calls. I've never understood like what is a foul and
But
what is not in the NBA.
A great point,
right?
and maybe it's coming. I don't know if NFL, maybe this is working. I've been talking about this one. We don't have a sensor in the football. We trust, again, no offense, referees.
The chain gang?
We trust the chain ganger, this guy, to run
Yeah.
into the middle of a pile of guys,
That's a very fair point.
pick up
Yeah.
the football,
that's
and
a very fair
determine where it goes to determine a
Yeah.
first down or
Yeah.
touchdown.
And
Or
you
even
know,
a touchdown.
It's
we
wild
don't
you
have a
say that.
sensor?
Yeah, this weekend was, at least I felt, was
Yes.
especially egregious. And it was in games that I had zero interest in. So it wasn't even like I was mad that the Cardinals were getting screwed over by the refs. No. These were other games I was just watching, and I was like, that spot is terrible.
And this guy
that
just
guy
picks-
got like
Dude,
3 yards
literally-
further than
It
that.
pisses me off so
Yeah.
bad because, again, being in AAA, seeing the strike zone and what MLB is doing and what we see on TV,
Right.
like, again, there was exactly my point. Amazon the other day had an angle where the guy touched the ball and the refs didn't have that camera angle to review it.
Yeah, how did they not have
How
that
do the
angle?
refs not have an
Yeah.
angle that we can see on TV? We
Right.
could see it. The refs got the call wrong. It changed the whole course of the game. Again, we're sitting at home. I like have a jaded view of this game now because I'm like, I know you can say, oh, the game's the game. You had multiple. No, dude, that play right there, if they get the
Huge.
ball back,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
need to talk about other stuff, but
No.
it fires me up because we're getting to a place where like we need to like merge or like iRobot stuff. We're getting close to it.
I know. I agree with what you're saying though about the marriage. Like, I don't really want there to be a purely computer robot,
Correct.
kind of element to the game of calling it.
Are there any other aspects of baseball though that are like, I think balls and strikes, that's something
I
like big
think-
out safe calls.
Have you been
right?
to a AAA game with the review system?
I haven't been to a
Salt
AAA
River-
game,
Salt
but
River
they've
Fields
yeah
games.
they've had
So-
a lot of
Or
volley games
yeah,
like that. So I've seen it. Yeah.
I enjoyed it. For me, like again, that's where I'm not fully ready to give up balls and strikes. I do agree it's the easiest one and the most accurate. I
Yeah.
think it's like an obvious, like the fact that we think, no offense to all of us, that our human eyes are better than
Yeah.
the technology we have right
Yeah.
now is. But challenging balls and strikes in AAA was electric.
Yeah.
Like, and you
Yeah.
talk about
Yeah.
momentum swings and like, strategically kind of like challenges, only having a few of them. It was great. Where the ones that get me in baseball are like, I forgot what they called it now. The roundabout play at second, like when guys are sliding and their foot barely pops off
Oh,
the
yeah,
bag
yeah,
and
yeah.
they keep the glove on them.
Right.
Yeah.
I understand by definition and rule that they are out, but is that what we're really trying to?
Sure,
Like we were
sure,
talking about pass
yeah.
interference. Is that what we're trying to review?
Is that what we're trying to make?
I
the
know
game?
he's
Yeah.
out, or like he came off the bat. You know what I'm getting
Like
at.
Oh,
It's
Cattell
like-
loves that.
semantics,
Cattell loves that.
details, yeah.
Cattell will hold the ball,
Of course.
and Perdomo too.
Yeah, like, I get it. That's my point. Like we're starting to focus on and losing for me the aspects of some of the fundamentals and like his foot may have popped off sliding in hard to second.
Yeah.
That's part of the game. Like
Yeah.
he beat the throw, beat the original tag,
Right.
everything.
Now we're
after
trying to
he's-
get ticky tack
Yeah,
with like,
you
did he
know,
come
like,
off
let's
the
play
bag for a
ball,
split second? Yeah.
So yeah.
I think like in tennis where they have the in and out when there's a close borderline call on
Yeah.
like
Yes.
if it's foul, fair or foul. I think maybe that could be another time where maybe it doesn't even have to be challenged. Just like, hey, if you're unsure, let's just go to the tape and see if the ball landed fair or foul, right? Like that's pretty black and white, when it comes to this stuff. We do have Tommy Troy from the Salt River Rafters talking about his thoughts on the check swing system. Here's what Troy had to say.
I think it's pretty forgiving for the hitters. We got a challenge today, and I was like, wow. But I mean, it's part of the game. I love how we're trying it out in this setting. We can make adjustments from there. But I like it.
Well, of course he likes it as a hitter.
Yeah.
You just prefaced that with that. He's like, it's pretty generous. I like it.
I did follow up with Tommy about the definition of a swing versus a check swing and like how do we know the difference? Does he know the difference? And this is pretty interesting. This is what he had to say about that.
The definition's been pretty ambiguous, like ever since I started playing, but like, yeah, they're saying it's like 45 degrees or whatever, like down the line. I don't really know. Before that, I just thought if you were just crossing the plate at all, it would be a swing, but I guess it's changing now, but
So 45 degrees, like that seems very generous.
That is pretty, I mean, it's hard enough to hit, why not? So.
Sounds like me talking about playing MLB The Show. It's hard enough to hit. Just let me play on
We'll
rookie
take
and
any
leave me alone.
advantage we can take. The other thing I'll say about this real quick that I didn't mention earlier, what was explained to me is that each team gets 2 of these challenges per game. And if you use both of them in the first 8 innings, then you get another one for the 9th inning. Apparently,
If you use both of them or don't use both of them.
I believe if you use both of them in the 8th in innings 1 through 8, then you
I feel
get
like that's
an
an
extra one in
automatic,
the 9th.
and you're gonna.
Yeah. So basically, it's just if a team is out of them by the 9th inning, because it's the 9th inning, they want to give you an extra one. And then I imagine that in extra innings, you would get an additional one for each extra inning as well. What was also interesting to me is that if you are correct, then you actually don't keep your challenge. So you, unlike the ABS, the ball strike system, where if you get 3 challenges per game, but if you're right, then you don't lose one. In this case, you only get 2 challenges, at least in those first 8 innings. You get the additional ones afterwards. But if you're right, you still lose the challenge. So that seemed a little arbitrary to me. I don't know exactly why they're doing it that way. But that's what was explained to me yesterday.
It's getting to the point where we have too many trash bins outside of our house. There's too many challenges. Like,
That's my point.
Do I have 3? I have
Yeah.
3 balls and strike challenges. I have 2 for the check swing. How many do I have for in or out of foul territory?
It's becoming where, again, a manager, instead of holding a lineup card, it's going to be a list of challenges, and truly, like, and now, I mean, it's an iPad now. It's not.
Right.
It's not the old lineup card, and grab the pencil behind the ear. It's scan, or crap, there's an assistant standing next to him that's holding it. You know what I mean?
It does seem like, just imagining a scenario where both the ball strike challenge system and this challenge system are in the majors. It's going to be hard to keep track of. Like on a TV broadcast, you're going to have.
They're going to have little boxes.
Imagine scoring. You just naturally strike, check. Pencil. You're not using.
Score bug's going to look gross.
No,
it's going to have little X's and green check marks for when they got a challenge.
And again, you're going to start
like
you've seen with analytics and the I understand them, but the WOBAs and these made up categories. You're going to start having.
They're not made up.
I know
they're
not
real.
I know. I understand they're real, and I believe in some of them. Like some of them, I believe in the most. We're not going to go super deep, as I've talked about the fact that we don't play on the same dimensions everywhere. That's why we have to have the stat for adjusted ballparks and all this shit.
Right.
It's I mean, we're just, everything is getting to a point where it's just getting out of hand, and like we're losing what are we trying to accomplish here? And
still a game where you're throwing a ball and hitting it with a stick.
What stat are we gonna have to, even the ghost runner and like the extra innings? I understand it, and I believe in the value of it in terms of keeping guys healthy, keeping games shorter. The roster moves that happen after these long inning games, but
it sucks. It sucks. It sucks watching an extra innings game in regular season baseball.
And like I said, I've sat in these meetings where it's crazy. You vote on them and boom, rule changes. You're like, oh, okay, we're going ghost runner. Like, what did we just do?
And then you get to watch a postseason game with extra innings and there's no ghost runner, and you're like, oh, this
refreshing.
is delightful.
I
forgot what it was like to watch a game like this.
Hitting, like Tommy Troy just said, hitting is hard. And so, again, being just looking at the game from a business, you have to generate more offense. One, every sport has rule changes. Baseball is at a point where some of the rule changes are coming to be more relevant right now and big topics, with the clock and all these things. And people do need to score more runs. ERAs do need to, I say, go up, but the average of guys throwing in the low 1s and 2s, it's going to adjust. A good ERA will now be a 2 and a 3, but what fans want to see is offense and action. And so MLB as a business is trying to incorporate that. And so from the check swing to these other things, I mean, it goes back to producing a content and a product that people want to come pay and see.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like trying to figure out why MLB would at least start with this 45-degree angle. It's like, it's very friendly for hitters. And that's kind of what MLB has been trying to do for several years now.
Hitting is hard. I mean, the hardest it's ever been. Guys are from pitch shape and design to the speed they're throwing. And again, we can dive into it. I've looked at, but you look at, team averages, the amount of teams hitting below 230, it's disgusting.
The league average
you know
batting
what I mean?
average is 245 this year.
it's creating a game that is tough to watch, and I don't want to sit here and sound like these old heads that I heard before me that talk about the game. The game always changes.
Yeah,
it's going to continuously change. But as great as it is, and their baseball is still great, and I love baseball, but I'm not gonna say we're in trouble, but yeah, we need to figure out some of these things with, like I talked about, the technology merger and combining the love of the game and the passion of the game and the technology and human. We need to come together.
Yeah.
Like
It's
Bill
like,
Gates, let's get
Yeah,
let's get
this
everyone on the
technology.
table. Like,
Well, I'll say this. I mean, I like the check swing, but I do feel like what you're saying. Like, I mean, it does feel like we're getting to almost a tipping point where they might be going too far with these improvements to the game, and then this technology, this situation with the technology might just be, removing the actual fun out of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, football, I think, got to that point when they changed their kickoff rule.
Yeah.
And it's like it makes all the sense in the world.
I mean, yes,
all the data
logically
tells you
can't argue it.
Right. You're like, you got guys running down vehicles out of control on a highway, smashing into each other. The highest percentage of injuries occur on kickoffs, especially devastating ones.
Yep.
And yet there's still a part of my soul that dies every single time I watch a football game.
I mean,
and they don't do a normal kick, or they have this weird kickoff where the guys are close and everything is a touchback.
So I refer to this, right? And then we've talked about this. You guys have asked me this. I think this is a great even thing to go in further. Like watching OU Texas this last weekend. My dad came up to my ranch in Oklahoma, and I'm not going to repeat them because I don't want to dog myself, but I probably made some comments towards Texas football players that I wouldn't, if someone said to me, like in person, I'm not going to say that in person on the field to a guy,
Sure.
but as a true fan, like things I say, where my dad was like, son, what? Like, what are you saying? Like, I was like, Dad, shut up right now. Like, we're getting,
I'm talking my talk.
It's what were we just talking about? Sorry, maybe lose our train of thought.
No, it was the kickoffs and the football changes of the game.
I know that this is like you said, the right thing to do, right?
Yeah.
That like for concussions and health,
Yeah.
but some of me is like, that's what we pay these guys for. That's what I get paid for, right? That's why like it's a tough line, right? Of like health and long-term and longevity. And especially when you're talking about someone's brain and head and what was happening on these kickoffs. But again, we're changing sports. Like this is a massive change. Like I think that if NCAA is next, college football has got to be next, right? Like next year,
and then hockey,
tough.
they're going to take fighting out of hockey, and we're just going to lose all of our violence.
We are like, watch. I'm not saying they need to be
of any kind.
the same, but especially baseball, football is still just physical. But you watch any highlight pre-2000,
yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's all we used to do sometimes. It's just watch highlight reels of people getting
incredible.
Wrecked. Yeah.
Okay, it is, and again, like. Those guys talk about some were messed up and badly messed up, and we're all from playing sports, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a weird topic because I don't want to sit and say I'm devaluing our health and longevity after our life.
But it does. There comes a point where it's like, man, I feel like this kind of sucks, and I get it. I get why they're doing it. Just like this stuff, I understand why they're doing it, and I understand they're trying to do it in a way that appeases or at least doesn't bog the game down too much and gets the calls right at the end of the day, which I think is what everybody wants.
Even we're putting the orange base on the other side of first base, which I actually kind of, again, makes sense. Like I get it for collisions at first, but it's like, like, I don't know, like let's just put a flag on our, let's just put a flag and play wiffle ball.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like,
let's just call it a day.
Yeah,
let's just do it. I mean, we're going to go. Let's just, let's all do it with Nerf balls on soft turf. All right. Well, we'll have more, of course, on baseball. We're not going anywhere. We got to talk about all this wonderful stuff with the World Series, even though we don't really care much for either of the teams. Of course, I do want to tell you to grab yourself a Die Hard membership if you haven't done so already. Right now is an incredible time to do so. We have our introductory Die Hard offer for $48 for the first year. That's just $4 a month billed annually, and you get all of our content. You get, of course, our wonderful a free t-shirt of your choice, free hat of your choice from phnxlocker.com. You get everything that Mr. Friedman here has to offer with his writing, which is some incredible content, as well as our additional content like D-Backs After Dark and Ask Archie. We got everything coming up here, so make sure you join us. It is a great time to be a member of the Die Hard family. Also, of course, our Discord lounge, which is the best place to be an Arizona sports fan. So make sure to sign up today. On the other side of this break, we are going to give you our World Series picks and preview this upcoming fall classic between the Dodgers and the Yankees. So don't you go anywhere. Again, time is running out this fall before the holiday season is upon us. So if you're looking to make some improvements around your home, check out Empire today. You can get shop-at-home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a price match guarantee. So Empire today has been servicing the Valley for years. And of course, they keep shopping for floors simple with a curated product selection, so you don't have to look through thousands of samples. They'll find out what you're looking for and find you the right product. They also offer their virtual floor designer, which is a great way to see how the new floors will look in any space. It's easy. You just have to snap a picture of a room and instantly see how the new floors will look in that space. Empire today, of course, services their own warranties. So if an issue does arise, you can just call Empire. They service them themselves. You won't have to track down a manufacturer's phone number. You can schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 discount when they use promo code PHNX. Restrictions do apply. See empiretoday.com/PHNX for details. And of course, we are big fans of Bet365 around here, and that's because Bet365 does offer the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 sports. They pioneered live in-game betting, and right now, new customers can sign up using our code of PHNX365, deposit $10 into your account, choose either between a bet and get offer, where you can place a $5 bet or more and receive $150 in bonus bets, or a first bet safety net offer, where you can place up to a $1,000 bet, and if your qualifying bet loses, you will receive a matched refund in bonus bets. Not much time left to get down on the early baseball payout offer, but you are a winner if your team goes up by 5 runs ahead in the World Series with an instant payout. Parlay and same game parlay selections will be marked as winners as well. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHNX365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out why it is never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or over and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT STEP to 53342, or visit problemgambling.az.gov. All right. Well, it is time to talk about the 2024 World Series. And of course, we did touch on it a little bit on Monday's show about, how many people are watching it and how much we hate it. But we did want to actually give some credit where credit is due. We do think that this is going to be a pretty epic matchup between these two teams. I mean, they are two of the most stacked rosters, as we've discussed. And here's the path that got them to the World Series, with that game one starting on Friday. All the games are at 8 p.m., 5 p.m. our time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. What are your thoughts here, Jesse? I'll start with you, just in regards to pitching matchups and these two teams, kind of how they fare against each other.
Yeah, I think it's not just the name cred of Dodgers Yankees. It's also
for sure.
It's also that these two teams are very, very good, and they were each the 1 seed in their league. And I think they're very evenly matched, and this should be a heck of a fun series to watch. Beyond all of the the other narratives of Dodgers Yankees playing for the first time since the 80s, and it is crazy to think this is the most common World Series matchup in Major League history, even though it hasn't happened in quite a while at this point. But yeah,
crazy.
there's a whole bunch of fun storylines here.
It's because baseball's been around for 150 years, and there was only like 6 teams at one point.
Yeah.
That's part of it. But the Yankees and Dodgers played like not every year, but almost every year in like the 50s and 60s for a while there, which is wild.
I don't
to
think
about.
any. Well, I don't want to. There's a few people still alive that saw those games.
Most people did. But I'll say this, just in regards to that, like we were talking about, like how hard it would be to be a fan of baseball when you look and like historically there's this stretch where it's like the Yankees winning it every single year, or it's like the same 2 teams in the championship.
Like I get the
every single
history
year.
and the Yankees, all their World Series, but I mean, some of those are just when there's only 4 teams.
Yeah,
you know?
and they had the
Like,
greatest
no.
lineup
I'm
in baseball.
all about the history of our game, the Yankees. I'm not talking trash. Yankee
Yeah.
fans, don't come at me. Okay, I don't want that wrath on me. Every World Series is yours. Don't freaking get it twisted.
So, I mean, looking at the starting pitching, I think that's where the Yankees probably have the upper hand. Dodgers obviously decimated with injuries. The Yankees at least have 4 guys that you can run out there. Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon, Clark Schmidt, and then Luis Gil. The lineups are both awesome. With some huge names. I don't know if there's really a clear winner on either side. The bullpen maybe advantage Dodgers, but Luke Weaver's doing his thing.
What about
for the
usage
Yankees,
there though? Like, I mean, I like, we're going to get to our predictions, and this is probably going to go against my prediction, but like, there's got to be a point where the Walker Buehler games aren't really Walker Buehler starts as much as they're pseudo bullpen games potentially, and then you actually have a bullpen game in here that's kind of scheduled. That's part of the pitching matchup, right? Like, that just seems like, I know this is it. This is potentially the last 7 games you'll play. It just feels like there's got to be a point where that bullpen that Dave Roberts has been using so often gets a bit gassed. I mean, do you, or if you're in the World Series, are you just pumped so much that like it really doesn't matter about being...
both. I mean, I haven't been able to pitch that deep into a season before. I know that my 2017, 18, 19 years, like, I was ready to go. Like, you could have given me any workload. I remember, I thought it was so cool. I think it was that year, Brandon Morrow pitched in every game of the World Series.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Didn't do much after that. I mean, signed a big deal, but had some injuries, maybe, but again, this is like, goes back to what I said, player health, longevity, contracts, trying to win a World Series, man. This is a once in a lifetime thing. Like, for me, this is the one area that's really, I say, gray in baseball. For me, pretty black and white. I'm laying it out there. I want the Rock. Yeah, I may blow my arm out and like miss out on millions of dollars to take care of my family, and that's freaking crazy to say out loud, right? But like, winning a World Series, wearing a ring, being a part of a championship in a game, in a sport, and what we've talked about numerous times in this game of life, and like what matters, like, to win a World Series, man. Again, I know it for me is above money. It's above any individual accolade. So yeah, that's where I don't know from a team's perspective. I know you have to look after guys, but as an individual player, like, I'm healthy. I'm taking the ball every game. The only time I will say is now being older, the only time I would check that is if I know that I may not be able to beat a guy. Like, if I'm just doing it to be tough.
Sure.
And I would be honest and like, hey, I don't got it tonight. I can't give you quality outs to get Mookie, Soto, whoever it is. And like, but outside that, I'm strapping it on. You need me later on, you need me in extra innings, I got you. Like, let's roll.
That's the reason why at times managers have to kind of save players from themselves,
of course,
right? Because it's like, players' attitude and their willingness to go out there and give the team all that they have is probably going to be there 9 times out of 10. You might every once in a while have somebody, like you said, that's like, nah, I don't got it tonight. And I mean, it's hard in the moment, especially when you're talking about these high leverage situations.
You look at who the Yankees have used to get to the World Series. The last 3 guys that, they were some of the worst pitchers in baseball. Weren't even big league pitchers consistently the last few years.
It's the Yankees for you, man.
It is. It's very ironic, but yeah,
Tim
like,
Hill is their like back end high leverage left-handed reliever.
He's had like a sub-2 since he got released and picked up by him. So yeah, I mean, I truly do think in a weird way they both went out and got help at the deadline. They've both had injuries, especially the Dodgers.
Where would they be without Jack Flaherty?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, we just talked about it. Like, not the best postseason pitcher, but what he did for them down the stretch to get them in. And I mean, what Kopech did.
Kopech's been really good for the Dodgers.
Again, it bothers me because I've never been able to be a part of it, and this isn't a diss on Arizona, but teams that have money are able to go address needs at the deadline. And these 2 teams did it very well. The Yankees went out and got Jazz. They added pieces that for the first time put these teams over the hump and got them to where they needed to be. And I think it's the 2 best teams in baseball, minus the Phillies. I think the Phillies starting pitching and their bullpen pieces, but I really thought the Phillies were going to give me a little more out of the NL. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
But outside that, I think these are 2 of the best 3 teams in baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to a lineup comparison, I think that's where you might say pitching advantage Yankees, but the lineup, you got to say just a little bit advantage Dodgers with just how stacked their lineup is and how well the guys that aren't honestly the superstars here that have been playing, just really well for them. Tommy Edman, like you said, Max Muncy, those guys have all been contributing in a huge way. But then you still have Freeman, Ohtani, Teoscar Hernandez, Mookie Betts, all to deal with. It's like one guy after another, and
it's the talk we talk about. We asked, would you rather face a lineup that's homer strikeout or single double going to be on base walk? Like that's for me what we're like. A lot of the risk reward versus that Yankees lineup. Like tough to get around some of those big guys, but there's also a lot of strikeouts there. There's a lot of swing and misses, and if you can navigate past the top guys, like we were talking about this earlier, you can get through the bottom of that Yankees lineup a lot easier. Where the Dodgers, you have the top loaded, and then whether it continues, but the production they're getting from the bottom half of the order, it makes that lineup terrifying to me. Because Cole, you can throw whoever you want, dude. Like a couple mistakes, and now the lineup's turned over, and you're back to facing Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, and you're just like, well, I was just trying to get Edman out.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right,
I was just,
and it's like you have Ohtani as this leadoff guy now, right? Where you like want to pitch around him, but then you're immediately loading one up for the rest of the lineup.
Take your pick. You know what I mean? Like one MVP to the next. Literally the 3 MVPs playing behind each other in the order where, like I said, you get past those guys, you try to take a breath, and you really don't have a chance because you're not going to strike some of these guys out in the bottom order. You have to make quality pitches or your pitch scout's going to get up quick. It's a stressful lineup for me, man.
Yeah. One of the biggest questions for me in this series is, I guess, Derek, you mentioned earlier that the Dodgers have Walker Buehler. Theoretically, we think we'll pitch game 3 and then a bullpen game probably in game 4. The impact of some of these really, really good hitters seeing the same relievers over and over and over again, because you feel like, especially on the Yankees side, where I think their bullpen is maybe a little bit thinner, like they're gonna need Luke Weaver and Tommy Kahnle and Tim Hill. Like it feels like those guys are gonna pitch in probably every game that the Yankees win, at least if it's close.
That's what worries me on the bullpen side. Why I give it to the Dodgers is I think these guys are incredible and they're going to provide some great innings, but I think Boone is going to have to literally pick these guys in the perfect places to pitch, because you go burn Weaver in game 1. I say burn him, but throw him multiple, which he's, been doing. And good or bad, I'm just saying exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
You miss Weaver and you throw him and extend him, and then you can't bring him back for 2 games. Like it's going to be really tough, I think, for Boone to pick and choose how to get. Again, that's why the Dodgers lineup is so tough. Big outs in these big situations, especially past the 6th inning. Like that's really tough.
Well, we will have our give you our World Series predictions here on the other side of this break, as well as finding out what Archie was up to this weekend. We had some fun. So don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back. Of course, with the World Series coming up, there's many people that want to attend that game, and those tickets are going to be expensive. So a great way to possibly get yourself a discount on those tickets is by buying them last minute through our friends at Game Time, where you can possibly save on tickets up to 60%. I'm not making any guarantees on the World Series. Those tickets are averaging at like $2,500 a pop right now. But I'll tell you this much, if there's somewhere you're going to save, it's over at Game Time, and you can use their brand new Game Time Picks feature that makes getting tickets for events like this even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Of course, you can see what those tickets, what the view from your seat will look like, plus they have all-in pricing, so you will know the total. No surprises at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it, Jesse?
It is game time.
It is game time. All right. Well, of course, if you're in the market for a new vehicle, you have to check out our friends at Sanderson Ford. They are our official vehicle sponsor, and Sanderson Ford is also America's most awarded Ford dealership for customer satisfaction. You can check out all Sanderson Ford has to offer, including the new 2024 F-150 trucks with a 3.9% APR financing for 60 months, plus $1,000 cash back. And if you trade in your Ram truck, you get an additional $2,000 cash back. So make sure to check out everything Sanderson Ford has to offer. We love working with them because all the things they do to support our community, and you can get it all with no hassle, no pressure, and no nonsense at Sanderson Ford. Offers OAC from Ford Credit and expire 10/31. For your next vehicle purchase or lease, choose the dealership that gives back and pays it forward. See dealership for details. And if you go out to Sanderson Ford, don't miss out on eating lunch at the Starliner Diner. It's a 5-star experience. All right. Well, it is time for me to once again upset all the people in the live chat by giving you our World Series predictions. These guys really hung me out to dry on this one. So, Kevin, let's take a look. I predicted the Dodgers will win in 7. The 7 games thing for me, that's mostly I guess that's more of a hope. Like, I hope with these two teams, as much as I don't want to watch them actually play each other, I hope this goes to 7 because I think that would be incredible. Archie, I'll let you give. I mean, I think the lineup, that's the main reason for me, is it's just hard to get past this Dodgers lineup. Plus, like, they've just been playing a different level of baseball since that series with the Padres, and it just feels like they can't be stopped right now.
I chose the Yankees. I think that the starting pitching is going to hold the Dodgers in check long enough for the Yankees to really build some leads that are tough to come back from.
Yeah, I'm pretty much right there with you. I also have the Yankees in 6, and it just, I mean, looking at your game 1 pitching matchup of Garrett Cole against Jack Flaherty, like, I know if you look at their numbers, Jack Flaherty actually has a lower ERA. I think he had a lower ERA in the regular season than Garrett Cole did, but Garrett Cole is Garrett Cole, right?
Yeah.
Like, he is the guy. He is a guy that you want to be giving the ball to in game 1 of the World Series. Whereas Jack Flaherty, for the season that he just had, he really struggled in that last game against the Mets. He gave up 8 runs. His velo was down a couple of ticks, which I think is particularly concerning for him and kind of what he does out there. So, yeah, I like Cole better than Flaherty. I think I like Carlos Rodon better than Yamamoto, even though Yamamoto's a really good pitcher and has shown flashes, and I think was dominant against the Yankees when he faced him in the regular season. But yeah, I think the clearest difference, as you said, Archie, I think it really comes down to starting pitching. And maybe there's a small part of me that looks at, Soto, Judge, Stanton, and as hard as it is to pick a side between like that trio and Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, or really Ohtani, Betts, Tommy Edman, as we were saying the other day. That's really the Dodgers' big 3, right? It's hard for me to pick a side there, but this is a short series, and there probably is going to be a clear winner out of those 2 trios. And right now, my gut is that the Yankees, I would rather have the Yankees side. I think that Judge and Soto are arguably better hitters than any of the 3 on the Dodgers side, even though, again, Ohtani is Ohtani. He's very, 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 very good. It's a hard decision to make, but given what I saw from the Yankees' big 3 in that Guardian series, I'm slightly leaning that direction.
I don't know who said it, but in baseball, which is very tough to expect guys to come through, I feel like Soto and Judge are 2 guys that when they're at batting, I expect them to get it done. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm almost shot. Like, Soto hitting that homer, I'm not kidding. I know everyone, it's so easy to say. I was like, I didn't know he was going to hit a homer. I knew he was going to do something productive. And for me, just, again, I go back to watching the Yankees hit against Class A. That's a good point. The back end of Cleveland's bullpen had 4 relievers that posted under a sub to pass the All-Star break, and 2 guys that did it for the whole season. Class A was, I watched the at-bats, the pitches these guys threw these hitters, and they're the best hitters on the planet. They are not only from a just talent, but like strike recognition, plate discipline. These guys still strike out, but these are the best hitters. And you can throw Stan in there right now. Playoff Stan is a different, but
Stan. I mean, he was the ALCS MVP, right?
But
like
Judge,
Stan carried them,
and especially Soto. They are the best hitters on the planet right now, and they are watching them literally just spit and take and fight off, and then beat some of the best relievers in the game. That's for me why getting back. That's why I'm picking the Yankees.
It wouldn't feel right if you picked the Dodgers.
No,
I
can't.
No, you can't.
That's also
he absolutely can't.
In all fairness, if I really believe they win, I still probably wouldn't pick them. I try.
And meanwhile,
know.
I'm just leaning into it because no one was going to let me off the hook no matter what I said there. So I appreciate it.
Well, you're the resident Dodgers.
I'm the
fan around
resident
here now,
Dodger
Derek,
fan, I
so
guess.
Very on
It's because
very
I
on brand
did
of
say
you.
that I have a crazy prediction that I don't know if anyone's talked about. The only reason I could sway to the Dodgers if somehow Otani is pitching all of a sudden.
What?
Right? I don't even know if it's been like a thing, but I
Yeah.
had this crazy dream that I woke up and Otani was like through like 3+ innings in game 2, and everyone's like, okay, he's literally like bow down. You know what I mean?
That would rock.
That would
that would be
incredible.
awesome.
It would be awesome, dude.
I mean, there's
So-
already enough storylines and intrigue with this series, but if Otani
Yeah.
like
But
heroically,
again, like I don't know where we're at real quick, but like for baseball, for growing the fan base, like as much as I do hate it, like we got to see LA, New York for the NLDS or the NLCS, which was, and now you're getting it for the World Series.
Yeah.
And again with Otani, Judge, Soto, like the true heroes, and like for the first time, like the guys that we hang up on billboards and promote on commercials are going head to head in New York, in LA. Like this is, as much as I hate it, I love this. I mean, for baseball as a whole, this is what I wanted to see.
I hate to go this route and ask this, but I feel like, I mean, now this is just something I thought of. Like with New York and LA being obviously such highly populated areas and like kind of trendsetters,
Yeah.
right? Like baseball being big in these cities again is just good for the game of baseball. Like, yeah,
Great.
they're gonna all be Dodgers fans, and no one's gonna like it's not gonna change how people feel. They're just gonna hate the Dodgers more or whatever. But it's just gonna, I think, grow the love and appreciation for the game in
Yankee
those
cat
major
becomes
cities.
it already is, but again, from a winning perspective, takeaway, and I'm not saying takeaway, but the Dodgers COVID World Series, their last World Series is what, 87?
88.
88?
Yeah.
You know, quick. That's
Yeah,
what I'm talking about.
yeah, he's a big time
the
Dodgers fan,
Yankees,
so.
the Yankees,
Damn it.
the Yankees was 09, correct? Right? Their last World Series was
Yeah, the
09.
Yankees are
like
09,
either
yeah.
way, for the Dodgers, way outdated, and even for a Yankees team, a long time between championships after their run in the 90s and early 2000s. You know what I mean? So, it's huge because these fan bases were already huge and they've been in the playoffs a lot the last couple of years. But now these two fighting with MVPs, everything. I mean, it's
Yeah.
I'll say it. This is probably the biggest World Series in baseball history.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially right now.
From a media standpoint of talent and true MVPs
Yeah.
facing off, and the best players that MLB wants to promote in the two most popular, like Yankee Stadium and Dodger Stadium, are my two favorite places to play. Fenway and Wrigley are up there. I could argue those for different reasons, but everyone wants to wear pinstripes and play in Yankee Stadium. New, old, doesn't matter. And Dodger Stadium, when there's 65,000+ people in there, the best sound system in baseball, it's the two best places to play.
Do you think that 2020 Dodgers World Series, do you think that's viewed around the game as being illegitimate in
No,
some,
it's not.
in
It's
some
not
way?
that illegitimate because that season sucked. It was
Sure.
it was hard to play. The only reason it's scoffed at or not is just because we played 60 games.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless, for me, it doesn't matter if it's 3-on-3 basketball. If you're playing a season in a tournament and you win, there's a champion.
You're the
and
champion.
I'm not disregarding their championship.
Yeah.
It's just baseball is such a long season.
Yeah.
And there's so many avenues to. But again, that was the start of. I mean, not the start of the continuation. The Dodgers. This is no fluke. Even
Right,
that's
right,
why I
right.
still acknowledge that
Right.
World Series championship. The Dodgers. I mean, go back really. Should probably be the 17 champions over the Astros. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we can't do that, but this is consistency at its finest. And I do think that they better win. I mean, honestly, this is both sides
Yeah.
must win for
Yeah.
Boone and Dave Roberts.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, that's true. It feels very like there's a lot on the line for.
not, and I see that comment, not Mickey Mouse ring. It's a ring, you know what I mean?
yeah.
But it's just,
It's different.
It's different.
right?
It's different. It definitely
think
is
that's
different. And speaking of things being different, the world will never be the same now without MLB legend Fernando Valenzuela, who passed away
R.I.P.
at the age of 63. Fernando Mania took over Los Angeles the year I was born, 1981, and I mean that's actually there's just some amazing memories. Not to mention, you know, the impact that he had on the Hispanic community on just like, you know, just being
Must
one
see
of the most
TV when he was
dominant.
taking them out at the
Yeah,
time.
it
I mean,
absolutely
obviously, I'm
was.
speaking. I wasn't old enough. I wasn't even alive.
Yeah,
Old
yeah.
enough is not even the right word.
Right.
But you know,
I'm old. I get it.
that is one thing I will say. Like my hate for the Dodgers comes to between the lines, right? Playing, but the history of the Dodgers and getting to play there for so long and learn and meet some of these guys, throughout my time there, the history of baseball is my love of the game is, that type of stuff is great. So to have met him there and seen him, and obviously his passing is very sad, but what a very few people leave an impact on the game like that. And like you said, the Hispanic community in general is, Fernando Mania forever.
Oh, forever. Fernando Mania forever. Yeah,
I just don't get in 1981. Like, have you guys
numbers?
Have you guys
Oh
seen
my
the
first 8 outings?
log?
It is incredible.
It's insane.
His first 8 outings in 1981. I think he pitched a little bit in 1980 as a reliever, but he was in the Dodgers rotation to start 81. His first game of the year, complete game shutout. Second game, 9 innings, 1 run. Third game, complete game shutout. Fourth game, complete game shutout. Fifth game, complete game shutout. Sixth game, 9 innings, 1 run again. Seventh game, another complete game shutout. And then his 8th game, 9 innings, 2 runs. So he threw a complete game. He threw a complete game 8 straight times.
It's just insanity.
I know that like back in the day, it was more common to pitch deeper in games, certainly. But even for the time, this was outrageous, especially for a guy
Rookie
who
of the year that year, right? 81 Rookie of the year.
I think so. Yeah. Rookie of the year. I think he was 20 years old when he did that. Yeah, those numbers just don't even compute for me. I can't even contemplate. He had another game where he pitched 10 innings.
Yeah, it's like MLB the Show what we were playing yesterday.
Right. Those are the games I want to highlight more. Like I think, there's a few Pedro threw like 10 perfect innings or something like that, but they lost in extras or there's just some guys throwing 9+ innings is crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, and I mean, like especially nowadays where nobody goes past 100 pitches, it just doesn't.
I mean, like different, but like the Nolan Ryan numbers, obviously, but even Randy John, you look at some of these pitch counts and innings. Like I mean, they're that's why some of these records, I mean, even 300 wins, they'll never be touched.
No,
it's just not the same game.
The longevity records are not.
They're not capable. Not going to happen.
Well, I want to give a shout out to everybody watching on Samsung TV, by the way. Today is our first day on Samsung. So if you're watching over there, hello. We love being on Samsung. And of course, right now, if you're watching on TV, we're going to continue the conversation over at gophnx.com. So make sure not to miss out on the rest of the show. So come on over and join us. Of course, you had a very fun weekend. We kind of teased it a little bit. With the one and only Jake Lamb at his Dad-chelor Party.
Dad-chelor Party
might be my new favorite term that I've never heard.
I was new to that one too. Yeah. There's a party for everything now with weddings and all these things. So I was a little hesitant, but Jake's not one to ever ask for anything. Especially a trip that's centered around him, but his wedding, the original bachelor trip was canceled due to COVID. So they, had a beautiful wedding, private ceremony through an actual real wedding, the following year, which was awesome. But never did the bachelor trip. Never just, and Jake is, a little inside info, a very sentimental person. He loves his friends. Like that's his friends and family, and that time together is what gets him going over anything, over baseball, money, all that. So to not have that trip with the boys was tough. So
for sure, like that's a life thing, right? Like you don't want to miss out on that.
To paint the picture bigger, Jake and I became best friends in Visalia.
Oh wow!
Actually, that was when they only had one tub, like a hot cold tub. You'd have to drain it, heat it back up. And like in the minor leagues, you would tub together. Like you'd get in the hot tub and cold tub together, like this mini tiny one. And like
at the time, I've slept in beds with my producers.
At the time, Jake and I were like, we didn't really know each other. College kid, high school kid, first round pick, late round pick. Honestly, way different. Whatever. End up in this cold tub together, shivering like, we can stand each other. Go to find out, play together, whatever. Jake moves in when we both made the big leagues. He made the team a little bit before me, but just hit it off. And the way we both rolled is just like large friend groups. So waste management, all these things, all these guys would roll in. So Jake's friends became huge friends of mine. I mean, like still friends of mine today that I call and talk to that I met through Jake and these trips out to my house and us all. So this trip was big for me too, because a couple other Merrill Kelly was there, which we only played with for a couple years, but goes to show, kind of the power of AZ. Jake still lives here in AZ. Yeah. Merrill lives here. Obviously, he's from here, grew up here. I just moved back here. All in all, just the power of what Arizona means to us and why we've chosen to live here. But yeah, we threw the Dad-chelor trip. Jake and his wife Hannah are expecting a beautiful little girl in the coming months, and so we loaded up in a Sprinter van here in Palm Springs, and we took off towards California. Or loaded up here in Arizona, took off towards California, and we spent 3 days golfing, drinking, eating, kind of talking trash, and everyone offering what we consider, especially us non-dads, crucial dad advice.
There you go.
For Jake to get prepared and be ready. There was a few dads on the trip, Merrill being one of them, Jake's older brother, a few other guys that have actual dad advice. But I felt like, I've got nieces and nephews. I've changed some diapers. Sure. Like, my advice to be a dad is valuable right now.
What was a piece of advice you gave him? If you can share, can you share?
I told him just because again, Jake's grown up. Again, Jake's my best friend. I know the way Jake has grown up. We grew up a little differently. Jake has a big family, but Jake isn't a big grab, your aunt's baby and hold it. I was like being handed them. And my siblings are older than me, so I had their kids. I was changing diapers. I just told Jake, like, hey, just take that first diaper duty. Just take it, get it out of the way, and just learn. It's gross, but you got to wipe the butt. You got to hold the legs up. You can protect, the whole thing, and just get comfortable with those first, couple months of how gross that poop is. And again, I don't have a kid, so I'm not sitting here, but my sisters, my brothers, I've been around it, and hey, Arch, here you go, change my kid. And it was like, what?
Yeah, do it. Figure it out. Jake, I'm not even giving you instructions. You're just going to have to figure it out. I love
Jake, and I'm not going to sit here and roast him because I didn't text him and tell him I was going to roast him. So I don't want him. But Jake's the type of guy, and I love him. He knows who he is. But at my house, when we lived together, he didn't do shit. Not in a bad way. He didn't get help with groceries. He didn't take trash out. Yeah. But every year at the end of the year, it's my favorite part. He would write me a check for $4 to $5 to more grand extra than what I charged him. And he literally would say, hey, this is because I don't do anything. You do everything.
I respect that.
Yeah, same thing. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm okay with this. This is going to work.
Jake isn't going to cook, but he's going to pay for DoorDash.
Correct. So it was more like, hey, you need to, instead of paying extra, you need to learn to do some of these things. That was my advice. The diapers and some of these day-to-day activities, you're going to need to learn to do them.
Are you allowed to tell us how your golf swing compares to Jake and Merrill?
I mean, Merrill's good. There? Merrill beat me. I actually had I'm really upset. I'm pissed off he brought it up. I lost day one to Merrill. He did give me 2 strokes, but I had a 3 or 4 stroke lead and melted on the back. And Merrill's not even a trash talker. Merrill's the most kind of how he pitches. You're like, damn, he's through 7, and I don't really know if he did anything. Golf is the same, just kind of boring, but damn, you're next to the pin again. So I lost to Merrill day one, which that sucked. But me and Merrill are very close. Jake, this is what I was talking about why I love golf. Jake and I lived together outside of playing park golf down the road. Jake Lamb wasn't a golfer. So to do this trip based around golf, he is vastly improved. Okay. Well, shit, the first 2 years we played together, he played right-handed. Yeah. And then next time he's like, hey, I'm back into golf. I'm actually lefty. And I was like, well, you swung lefty. I don't know. Maybe that made sense. You hit baseball lefty.
Yeah, it would be weird to hit a baseball lefty.
Dude, he can do both. He can hit golf clubs both ways. Not good, but better, whatever.
But you figure out one way.
But Jake's gotten a lot better. He's gotten a lot better. But it was cool. Okay. They got married at a place, the Parker Hotel, which little baseball history. It's where the Angels originated spring training. Gene Autry, when he owned the Angels, and there was a Gene Autry suite, and where Jake and them had their next day wedding brunch was on the field, which was the original spring training field for the Angels.
Yeah, that's really
so cool. It was really cool. So we went to a dinner there. Is really trippy. There's this restaurant, and you have to wear a jacket. And so Jake texted the guys in the group hey, everyone bring a jacket. And I was like, I mean, Jake's not a dress up guy. What are we doing? He's like, dude, you can either bring one or they have them there. Yeah. Oh, wow. So I was just going to be lazy and wear one there. I'm not going to lie. Thank God I didn't. right? I texted the guys in the group. Everyone says bring in jacket. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go full suit. I'm just going to do it right?
Wow.
And the jeans I was going to wear for like, I'm not a big jacket over jeans guy.
Yeah.
That's just me. And the jeans all I have, they're pretty skinny jeans, and I'm not skinny right now.
Right.
So I was pretty nervous. So long story short, I went full suit, but the jackets at the place were gaudy. Like sparkly, loud.
Oh my God, yes.
But the restaurant is like curtains, dark, mirrors all over the ceilings.
Wow.
Trippy. I felt like I was in a Willy Wonka movie. I'm not kidding. Willy Wonka movie mixed in with a few beverages, of course.
Yeah.
But it's just
That's
incredible.
where the floor gets really fun.
It was incredible, man. Like truly, I would say 50%, 60% of stories we told were Diamondback or Arizona Waste Management. What we built here in Arizona from as far as friends, a livelihood, and just memories, you know, they can't be replaced. Like baseball was a vessel for that, but like what's come of that, and because of Arizona and the Diamondbacks, it's just special, man. It's cool.
Yeah, it's a hard place to get over.
It is,
you know.
It
Like
is.
I've lived elsewhere myself. I've lived in tropical paradises, and I've still been like, I want to go back to Arizona. I miss Arizona. But someone in the chat, Sean, says, Derek, what's your dad advice for Jake? I got given the best piece of advice playing Call of Duty at 2 o'clock in the morning with one of my friends one time. And that was to enjoy every diaper change, to enjoy every moment, because having a child is the one thing in life that is like nothing else. And it goes by so incredibly fast. You'll blink and you'll have a teenager who wants to borrow your Cattell Marte jersey, and she doesn't even know BAPIP or OPS Plus from last year. It's ridiculous. She's a fake fan. But yeah, like, I mean, honestly, having a child is so weird because right when you get used to that thing that they're something different. You know, like you kind of get used to having a baby, and now you don't have a baby anymore. Now you have a toddler walking around. It's like, I just got used to having a baby. But I will say that like raising kids is wonderful. And I totally understand why people have so many of them, because you that baby is in your life for such a short amount of time before they're a kid. And then next thing you know, you kind of miss having a baby in your house. So, but yeah, congrats to Jake. Congrats. I hope you guys had a blast out there.
Yeah, we did. We had a blast. And you know, you're getting that next phase of life where like, even me, it's like, dang, dude, like I kind of want to be a dad now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you, man. It's like, I often say this, and I think that people think it's just something nice I say, but I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my daughter, because like when you have somebody that you like now realize one day is going to go to school and tell their friends what you do, you're like, I don't want her to be like, I don't know, he works in a cube at an office somewhere. That's what he did. But yeah, I'm here because of my daughter inspiring me, and of course, kids are amazing, but again, they also don't know anything about advanced metrics. So we do appreciate you guys.
Do you know Cattell's BABIP and OPS Plus for this past season?
I'm not the one. I'm not the one under scrutiny here.
You're talking about
All right,
it does. It may be an old clip, but it makes me think about just this and that. And like, have you seen that clip on Skip Bayless talking about what he told his wife when he married her before they like got serious?
No,
he
I don't
tripped
think
because
so.
he didn't have kids.
okay,
He didn't have kids. He's married, literally married to the game, his profession.
Yeah.
He said that him and his wife were at dinner. He said this was like I just saw this the other day, 2005, New York. And he told her, he's like, hey, I just wanted to let you know before this takes off, and I think it's going to. He's like, I really love this girl. I liked her. He's like, I'm not going to miss something to miss a LeBron game or miss going to this game. He's like, I will not put this before my work. Like he literally told her, he's like, this is my livelihood. This is why I breathe. This is who I am. You are second to my work, which I just thought was crazy.
How romantic.
Right? But at the same time,
Yeah.
like, I respect the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I hope he loves his wife, and I'm sure in a life-threatening situation would choose his wife over, going to see
Let's hope
Braun
so.
and Bronny Jr.
Maybe,
But-
maybe. Allegedly.
I don't know. I just thought, being married to the game,
Yeah.
your priorities and like what you would give to what you love
Right.
and you're passionate about.
So there's a viral post going around where a guy wrote a letter to his wife telling him, I'm sorry, but during football, don't talk to me. I'm not going to get up. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to have a beer in my hand. I'm going to be on the couch.
We don't have
Unless
enough
the
time to
house is
talk
on
about all
fire.
that. I'm gonna get myself in trouble too. I'm just kidding.
Oh, by the way, his OPS Plus is 155 and his BAPIP is 299. So don't ever
Okay.
question me.
All right,
But
all right.
anyway,
Uh-huh.
we do appreciate you guys for stopping by. Of course,
I
you
was
can
just
follow-
checking. I was
Yeah,
just
I know. You
checking.
got to make sure I'm up to date on this stuff.
Take that.
I am at Cap_Caveman on Twitter. This maniac next to me is at Jesse N. Friedman. Of course, the legend down there is at what was it, Archie Bradley 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Instagram.
That's on
we
Instagram.
always-
Yeah, follow him on Instagram. That's where you're going to see
Do
all
you
the
still say
magical
Twitter
stuff.
or do you say X?
I refuse to say X. I'm never. It says X. We have the X logo. It's a personal
X-Men. That's
fight.
what I think of. I
Yeah.
think of X-Men.
See, my problem is once again another thing that gave me my career is Twitter, and I refuse to let it die just because Elon Musk bought it. So it will forever be
But
Twitter.
you,
to me.
I mean, how do you don't have your MySpace anymore, Tom?
That's fair.
You know,
I miss MySpace.
Tom sold out.
Yeah, Tom
Where you
sold
at,
out.
Tom?
Yeah, we need to talk.
What a great
Tom.
sellout.
How much
Did
money
you
did you get
you have
Tom
a
to go away?
MySpace and then Xanga before that. Do you guys remember
Yeah.
Xanga?
Wow.
Yeah, dude.
Maybe even Club Penguin before that. All right, we'll have a whole
AMI
thing.
Messenger. I mean,
we were out there. We were out there. But of course, our shows at PHN. Oh wait, I forgot. Kev on the ones and twos. We got Kev Tom
Yeah.
Wrights. Again, you're gonna have to figure out how to
Kev's
spell
Kangaroos, right? Is
Yeah.
that what we decided? Oh, sorry.
that. Of course, our shows at PHNX_DBacks, but all roads do lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys so much for stopping by. We will see you tomorrow again at 1 p.m. So hope to see you then. Until then, have a wonderful night. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun, again, when your team's in the World Series.